So I really don't think the stock market can see any new all-time highs for as far out as eyes can see. I still don't think there's a crash. I've never been in the crash camp, but I think the markets will underperform. And what I say by underperform, Elijah, is important. It's going to underperform what people grown accustomed to and have gotten used to, both investors and professionals, and have lived a lifestyle above where they really should be because they counted on those type of returns. And when those returns no longer come, they too are going to find themselves in a very tough situation and will add to the pressure to the downside. And I suspect we'll see more of that as we get into next year.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for October 2nd through October 9th, 2023, while supplies last. This week we feature two different specials, Silver Kangaroos and Fractional Gold Eagles. We have 2023 Australian Silver Kangaroos at just $3.15 over spot. We also have 1/10 ounce Gold Eagles at $32 over melt and 1/4 ounce Gold Eagles at $60 over melt. The 2023 Silver Kangaroo from Australia are renowned for their 4/9 fine purity, as well as their recognizability and design. Like many other coins, they come 25 to a tube. However, unlike others, the Australian Monster Box is just 250 coins, making it the most affordable Monster Box available, especially with a premium of just $3.15 over spot per ounce. And finally, Silver Kangaroos are IRA eligible. The Gold Eagle was first released in 1986 and has been one of the most popular gold bullion coins in the world, providing instant recognizability and investor trust. The 1/10 and 1/4 ounce Eagles are additionally sought after for their high degree of flexibility and liquidity. Like the 1 ounce Eagle, the 1/10 and 1/4 ounce Eagles are 22 karat gold strengthened with copper. They're 1/10 and 1/4 of a troy ounce respectively and come in tubes and boxes at quantity. The 1/10 ounce Gold Eagle is just $32 over melt, and the 1/4 ounce Eagle is just $60 over melt while supplies last. They're also IRA eligible. And if you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, an IRA holding assets in a private depository rather than a bank or brokerage, call us and we'll be happy to help you in that process. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend Peter Grandich from Peter Grandich and Company. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I hope I'm still a good friend with gold $100 and something lower since we last spoke.
Definitely. And it really has been surprising for a lot of us looking at the metals markets over the last couple of weeks. Your perspective on what is happening, as you mentioned, gold is down quite a bit. Silver has dipped below 21 here and there. So your perspective.
Well, first of all, I didn't predict it, nor did I expect it. So that's the first thing. But it wouldn't be the first time in 40 years that something like that happened. Monday morning quarterback on a Friday afternoon. Interest rates rose a lot sharper, and the dollar got stronger off it than we expected. Gold, especially, but even silver, did a good job through most of that rise. It really held its own. It, had reasons to sell off early. It didn't, but finally the paper chasers got what they wanted. We didn't see the attack in the physical market. We almost never do. We always see it in the paper market. And it broke some supports, and momentum traders came in. But we're really back to a level that has offered excellent opportunity before. And again, I remind everybody, a year ago, we were looking at 1650. So is 1825 that bad, given we were 1650 a year ago? I don't normally say this. I think people follow me know this, but I will say this: it's a buy-in opportunity, and it really is, and it really is a time. And I think now that the fundamentals, Elijah, for the political, social, and economic troubles that America is in now, never has it been more warranted to own the metals for a bare minimum as insurance. And let me explain this, because I've had this talk in recent days in our planning group. And, I don't sell gold. I don't have anything on that end to do with it. But I told the people we were speaking with is right now you have health insurance, car insurance, home insurance. all for in case something happens and it doesn't hurt you financially. Where do you have that in your general equities portfolio? 98% of the public still has little or no real insurance against their financial assets, stocks and bonds. And this is important. And this is something the Don't Worry Be Happy crowd has gotten away with murder, because it's the Don't Worry Be Happy crowd that reports on the Don't Worry Be Happy crowd. And that is, we've had tremendous losses in fixed income. I mean, banks, there isn't a bank basically around that doesn't have paper losses on its holdings. And 3 years of sharp declines in the bond market. And, you're not supposed to lose double digits when you buy bonds. You're supposed to make a return. And those folks, most of them, if not all, almost all of them, have real no hedging in place. And always, gold and silver are your best hard asset hedges. They're a whole lot better than art and collectibles and even real estate. And I'm singing to the choir. I know that's your livelihood, but I'd be saying this if I was on national TV. This is the time now where people should really start to say enough is enough. I need to minimally hedge my paper portfolio and what's happening in the world today.
It is interesting because we had, some analysts saying that the precious metal markets would hold up while we saw a stock market crash. And now it seems like, based on looking at the charts and what is happening with the stock market, it seems like we're not in a good position right now. We've been down quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. And I believe the Dow went negative for a little while for the year. Your perspective on what is happening in the stock market, and also why metals seem to be following it down this time?
Well, I think it's very important because of the time you and I are actually recording this. Here we are early Friday afternoon. We just had the most atrocious, most idiotic payroll number report in the history. Now, this is something I've hopped on, my followers know, since January, that I've said that the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, where I've just put up a post and said, take the L away because they should just be called the BS, because that's what it is, has totally abdicated any rhyme and reason of pure, useful modeling on potential of what truly the employment numbers are. And you only have to see that because of this discrepancy constantly with the ADP number or the JOLT reporting that's done a couple of days beforehand. And it's absurd that we had it for every month. And then finally last month, they came out and said, oh, sorry, but we made a mistake every month beforehand. We lowered our number. And now they've come out with a number that's twice as high as the highest potential prediction. And understand about economists. They basically use the same type of modelings. They're modeling on the basis of what they think the BLS is modeling. So to be that far off just strongly suggests that when we got to look at the numbers before you and I start to speak, we can see all the games that have played with part-time work versus full-time. And it's really sad because here's the real negative in all of that. I'm assuming the Federal Reserve depends on these numbers as well. And if you take this at face value, then their hope of any time soon of easing the rise of interest rates and the pressures that that's causing on consumers and all is not going to happen. But what I said when that came out is these numbers are a farce. It would be no surprise that the markets would reverse, the mellow markets, the bonds, and the stock market. And it did, because I think people woke up and said, this number is not real. But having said all that, the fact that we cannot really trust numbers now is a really, really concerning factor on where basically Americans, Elijah, have lost trust in all forms of government. We just watched this week a split now within the Republican Party. Now, not only can the Democrats and Republicans not get in the same room and do anything, we have factions within the same parties that can't go in the same room. So it's mind-boggling. It's not surprising that there's a relief rally going on. But you're right. The declining stock market played a little bit of a role of the metals coming down. But I really, really think that the physical market is the judge. See, if I could talk to someone like you that's buying and selling for people all day and say, listen, during this decline, were people showing up saying, listen, I want to get rid of my gold. I want to get in, I want to get out. It doesn't look good. No, everything I'm hearing is this is causing more people to step up and buy. So it's the paper market. It's been like this for years. Thankfully, the move towards Asia taking more influence on the gold market will lessen these type of raids. They don't last as long, and they create opportunity. And I have to say it's truly an opportunity. And I think maybe one of the last ones for people that yet don't have any exposure to gold and silver to do so.
Yeah, I was actually just looking back at the last month of people buying or selling precious metals, and it's actually about, I think it's only a handful, I think 5 sales for people selling back, compared to a whole bunch of people buying. So on the dips, that seems to be what we're seeing is a lot of people purchasing precious metals, not selling, which is a bit ironic. You'd think if the price is going down, everyone's selling.
Well, see, that's case in point. Let's think about when oil prices shot up and we had an energy crisis and auto prices just declined. They just went down. People that had to get out sold. People weren't running to buy cars. Same thing with real estate. But here, the price of the metals went down. And yet, as you noted, and it's across the board, people are using that to purchase. And that's why I'm willing to use a cliche I don't use often and say that this is truly a buying opportunity for the metals.
Now, when it comes looking forward here, it seems like 2022 is very bad for the stock market. 2023, how do you think this will end up? And going forward, do you see a further decline in stocks and bonds? Your take?
I've had a fairly simplistic approach. In 2021, by the end of it, it was my suggestion to have little or no exposure to general equities. That's certainly the position I took. 2022 was a bad year for general equities. Now, when 2023 rolled around, I did not say, boy, it's time to go back in with both feet. In fact, I did say to people who found themselves in 2022 with too much equity, please, let's have a rally through at least the first half of the year and use it to lower that exposure so you don't have that same mental and financial anguish you had in 2022. And sure enough, we got to July, and I said, I think that really basically is it for this rally. It's a counter trend rally in a new long-term trend of markets that will not be able to perform at the levels that they used to, both stocks and bonds, because the United States can no longer just print money without no repercussions for it. So I really don't think the stock market can see any new all-time highs for as far out as eyes can see. I still don't think there's a crash. I've never been in the crash camp, but I think the markets will underperform. And what I say by underperform, Elijah, is important. It's going to underperform what people grown accustomed to and have gotten used to, both investors and professionals, and have lived a lifestyle above where they really should be because they counted on those type of returns. And when those returns no longer come, they too are going to find themselves in a very tough situation and will add to the pressure to the downside. And I suspect we'll see more of that as we get into next year.
I know, I think it was the first time we had you on. There were just a few assets that you were investing in: gold, silver, copper, and obviously related equities, and uranium. Now, uranium has had quite a bit of a run up here. Your perspective on that, and is it time for maybe people to take some profit off the table, or your perspective on uranium going forward?
Right. For as horrific as been for me in the gold and silver, and particularly in the mining share aspect, uranium has been one of the better things that I've done in 40 years. Never really invested it until I found myself a few years back seeing it under 20 and saw a change in the need that the energy needs were going to change in the world. And I got involved in uranium and said when it was under 20 that a target of $75 was legitimate. And it's kind of crazy when something's under 20 to talk about 75. And not too long ago, we were seeing 75 in the last several days. However, we went up too far too fast recently. Again, everybody started talking about it. Everybody suddenly was uranium bug. And I said that, it'd be healthy for some profit taking, and it's occurred. But that story, the underlining the fundamentals, forgetting about some penny uranium stock somewhere, but just the underpinnings of the change of uranium and the needs for it and the supply versus demand scenario is acute. It's probably the single best supply demand scenario in any investment opportunity in the world today. The demand is only going to go up and up a lot more than people expect, and the supply is a lot less availability than most other things that would be available. So after this, whatever you want to call a correction or consolidation, I think it will march higher again. And to this point, as I said a couple of days ago, I don't think we're even halfway through that move yet. So there's still opportunity for capital appreciation, even for those that first may be getting in. But when you've been in as low as I have, you really want to start actually looking to take some profits. And my suggestion was to the people who have 300, 400, 500% gains in stocks like Cameco and all, take out your original investment. Don't give it all back if something terrible happens. But I still think that market has a ways to go. And it also is going to play a role in our everyday life. People are recognizing that wind and solar and everything that they were told on was going to be the cure-all. You know, if I make just change for a subject for a moment, Elijah, somewhat similar. Today, a story ran on how China has built this major railway system in their country to provide the country with all sorts of coal, that they're going to burn coal like they never did before. And I wrote a thing saying, so wait a minute, I have to get rid of my gas oven. I got to get rid of my gas car. I got to get rid of my gas mower. I got to make sure the few cows I have, don't fart, in order to save the world. And China is doing this. It's a farce. The climate thing, for no other reason, forget all the other stuff, is a farce. If we're supposed to do this, and the second or soon to be maybe biggest economic power in the world is burning coal like there's no tomorrow. And it's just another of the unfortunateness of an almost perfect storm of bad news on all fronts all around the world are coming together.
And I would like your perspective on that. Then obviously you're saying that there's a lot of bad news coming in the economy, in the stock market, in, what it seems like maybe pollution abroad, and how what we're doing in the US might not make a whole lot of difference. But when there's all this chaos around us, how do we stay grounded? Because I know obviously there's the financial side. We want to make sure that, we own something real outside of the system that can weather the storm. But there's the spiritual side of things, which is more important. And you cover this as well. And, sharing the Catholic faith, that's really great that, to talk about this with you, that it's really important to realize that at the end of the day, the most important thing is faith. So how do you manage that with all the chaos going around? How do you stay grounded?
Well, you're right. For me, and I believe you as well, our Catholic Christian faith is really, at the end of the day, what we're going to stand on and have faith in, and brings hope. Because without it, people are hopeless. If you really think, just try to change our minds for a moment, Elijah, and go into a mind of somebody that doesn't have the belief that we have, that this is it. You came out from the earth, and when you're done, it's just, dirt in the ground and all that. Boy, there wouldn't be a lot to live for. I mean, I got to tell you, I couldn't imagine if I was saying this was just it. And I can understand why some people say, well, if this is just it, I'm going to not care, or whatever the case may be. But when you have faith, and as challenging as it may be now, and it's becoming more difficult to express it. Let me say this. I don't know how it is in your business, Elijah, but I break it down this way. Because I've been wearing my faith on my sleeve openly in my business, especially when I was involved with professional athletes, and I left that involvement because of my faith in what was being trampled on, that faith in the sports world. You basically only get three descriptions. About a third or maybe more people say you're a charlatan. You're only doing this because somehow you make money off of it. A third don't care. I don't care what you are, Mr. Grandich. If you can make me money, I'm happy. And the least amount of it, less than a third, go, where you been, brother? I really like the way you wear your faith on your heart, and I really can entrust my finances to you and all. And that's what you go on. And I wouldn't be surprised, because you're open about your faith. You may see those same type of statistics when people talk to you and so forth and so on. But it is becoming increasingly challenging to practice your faith. And I mean the entire Christian faith, both our Protestant brethren and our fellow Catholics are under tremendous siege in areas of the world where their lives are endangered because of their faith. And it's even somewhat becoming more challenging here. Not yet where we can't walk out or show our medals or something, but there are areas now where people are practicing the opposite of that, satanic and just very poor, sad, evil methods. So it's a challenge, and you just have to have faith. If you don't have faith, I would find it very difficult to get up in the morning. And Elijah, that doesn't mean there aren't days that I have the same difficulties that the non-believers have. I do. I'm human, and so are you, and so is everybody else. And also at this time, Elijah, the big challenge is the church is in an upheaval. The church has gone through one of its worst periods ever. A lot of people have left it, and I'm talking about church in general, not just the Catholic Church, but there's many Protestant denominations that are seeing, and people have become agnostic or outright atheists. And it's difficult for them to understand because they look around and say something like, well, how does a God allow all this to happen? Well, if this is all it is, I can see you being upset, but this is just a stepping stone. And what awaits us is beyond imagination of what goodness is. And hopefully, we get to experience that. I will say this, and I hope you won't mind me adding this, is a wonderful 4-minute video that I send to everybody. It's called The Rope, and it's by a Protestant preacher called Pastor Chan. And I encourage everybody to watch it because what you were trying to address right now is basically described in 4 minutes. And it was the single most influence on my life. And many people who end up watching it tell me it was on them. So I don't know if this is something you maybe can include in the bottom of your video or something. I certainly will. It's called The Rope, and it's Pastor Chan, Chan.
Yeah, if you want to send me that link, I'll put it in the description of the video so our viewers can see it there. Peter, before we let you go, did you have any last thoughts for our viewers? And where can people find your work if they're interested in learning more?
Well, I'm enjoying Twitter. I can't call it X. I don't know how to just say I'm on X. But Twitter is where I find most of my ability to work. I do some YouTube videos. I have a channel, and of course I have a blog that I encourage people, petergrandich.com. I do want to say this. I've never come on here or anybody and said this, but I really, really think you need to have some sort of exposure to precious metals now. They've been brought down to levels where they're worthy to buy, if nothing else, insurance. And let me just tell you what I get, Elijah. You'll enjoy this because you do this all day. I say to people, own gold and hope it doesn't go up. And they literally look at you and go, why do you want me to buy something that isn't going to go up? I tell them, because if it does go up a lot, what you have a lot of is going down. And this is a really, really good time to get assured. There's too many things happening fundamentally, socially, politically, and economically, not to have paper assets and key assets, even like your home. Because home values, even though they're real estate in a sense, if we go into a really tough time and things get bad, home values are going to go down too. And so I really think if you've never spoken to people like Elijah and other people that offer the sales of precious metals, I really, truly believe this is a time to do it. As God is my witness. And those third that don't believe me won't believe that either. But the third that do, please God do, and take this as an opportunity to own it.
All right. Well, Peter, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. And we'll also include a link to petergrandich.com. People can go check that out as well. Highly recommend. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, Elijah.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we can let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Kaiser, my brother Elijah, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.